First of all, goals when recruiting locally. First of all, the main thing I'm talking about here is recruiting a local sales team or a sales team of sub-agents that you are paying a portion of the agent compensation to. And that's really what we're talking about today is local sub-agents, building a local team. And two of the goals that I have when I'm getting started is, first of all, we want to minimize risk and fixed expenses. The reason why is because if you want to grow quickly with your sub-agent team and build that team up, then you need to make sure that you're minimizing your risk and your fixed expenses. Now, the model that I'm going to share with you guys, there are 100 different ways to do this. But the reason that I'm sharing this model with you is because when I started recruiting sub-agents, I did not have a lot of extra money. When I recruited my first sub-agent locally, I didn't have tons of money to just have in the bank, and I could not afford a lot of risk. And so this model is based on putting a lot of time and a lot of effort into building your team, but not really putting a lot of money or risk into it. So there are ways to do it where it's not nearly as risky, where you're much more likely to succeed, but where it's going to be very risky and it's going to cost you a lot of money. For instance, if you brought on employees and you put them in a, you have a physical location where each employee has a desk, and you have one manager for every 10 sales agents, and so you have a sales manager that's out in the field every day, you're back at the office. Obviously that model would generate more sales than this one, but again, you would have to have an enormous amount of money to make that work and to cover payroll for the new agents as they get going. And so this model is based on you don't want to put a whole lot of money into this up front, and or you don't want to have a lot of risk. So here's how you do that. Number one, you pay out 100% commission when you're getting started. Now again, that can change over time, and I've certainly experimented with a lot of different models, but when you're starting out your local team, pay them 100% commission. Now, of course, that means you're going to attract a certain type of person, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but have 100% commission when starting out. Secondly, have the sub-agents work either from their home office or a very small shared workstations. Now let me explain what I mean by that. You can have an office where you have two desks, one for you and another workstation, and you can have the sales agents work their schedule around that, and you have one sales agent that gets in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he has the workstation from 8 to 10 in the morning. So when he gets a sale, he comes in the morning, and between 8 and 10, he can key in his sale, or he can do whatever he needs to do at his workstation. I would highly advise using services like Gmail or a Gmail host server for your email service so that you can have it, he can use the same email on his phone, his laptop, and at your workstation. I would also advise using services like Dropbox. Dropbox.com is a great service, very inexpensive, and that way you can share certain files. So your agents can have files on their laptop as well as on the workstation there. But anyway, you can have one agent that has it from 8 to 10. Another agent might have it from, 3 to 5. And then another agent that starts working a little later in the day might have it from 5 to 7 or whatever. But you can split that up so they each have that workstation for a certain amount of time. So these are just ways to keep your fixed expenses really low. You also, again, can have a home office. Usually if you recruit 3 or 4 agents, one or two of them will enjoy working from a home office anyway. And that's a great way for you to get that started out. Have them work at a home office. Of course, if they're going to work at a home office or at a shared workstation, you still want to have meetings with them. I always meet with sub-agents every single morning. Usually we meet at a McDonald's or somewhere like that, a Denny's, a McDonald's, a Waffle House, and we'll have breakfast together almost every single morning. Some mornings we meet at the office, but usually that's one of the few fixed expenses that I have in my budget is I'll usually spend, if I have 3 sub-agents I'm working with in an area and I'll meet them at a McDonald's, it'll cost me, between the 4 of us, it'll cost me $20. A little less maybe, and so I spend $20 a day on breakfast, and that's how we have our meeting every morning. Everybody gets breakfast. We get off to a good start. I like meeting in the morning because it gets everybody out of bed and out into the field. No other expenses covered at the beginning. So at the beginning, you have the sales agents cover everything else. You talk to them; they're independent agents. Okay. Eventually, you're going to want to cover fuel expenses and eventually give them a cell phone. Those are the two expenses that I find sales agents most want to have covered. If you can cover fuel expenses and cell phones, then that is going to be a big deal to the agents. And you might even try to work that into your compensation program, where if an agent gets 3 sales in a week, then you're going to do some type of a fuel reimbursement. But if you can get a little leeway on a fixed expense, I would try to go after these two first. Try to cover some fuel expenses and cell phone expenses. Next, get your agents out in the field. That is the other goal when you're recruiting locally. That's your 2 goals: minimize risk and fixed expenses, and number 2 is get your agents out in the field. If you can do those 2 things, you will succeed in recruiting a team of local sub-agents, all right? Set up leads for them. Keep them accountable. Pay a bonus for the most statements obtained, all right? You want to do things that encourage them to get out in the field. And so keeping them accountable, setting up leads, paying bonuses for things like most statements obtained, most prospects entered in the database. I found that things like that are very useful to motivate the agents to get them out in the field and to really get them going. Also, make sure when you recruit the agents that you tell them your team is all about hard work and lots of hours at the beginning as they begin to build their business up, all right? Because you don't want to get a bunch of lazy people on your team. That will be very, very frustrating to you. Next. Oh, let me say one other thing before I get on to this. One mistake that a lot of people make when they recruit their sub-agents is that, they feel like, well, if they're paying 100% commission, they can't really ask very much of their sub-agents. And that just, quite frankly, isn't true. Just because you're paying your sub-agents 100% commission, you can still have performance criteria in place. Now, it's difficult to get into these are the hours you're going to work, because when you start doing that, then those people are actually employees, and you're making yourself liable for a lot of things legally. So you got to be careful about that. Again, you could speak with a lawyer or someone like that for more details. But let me just say this, though. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody when they come on board to say, look, I don't waste my time with people that don't work. So you need to see you need to be receiving at least 3 or 4 statements a week. You need to be seeing at least 3 or 4 new prospects a day. Put some minimum guidelines in place depending on how many hours they can work and what stage they're at. If it's a brand new agent, they should definitely be meeting 10 new business owners a day, every single day for a couple weeks while they build up their pipeline. And I have no problem telling a new agent, if you don't do that, you will not work with me. You're going to be gone. So I'm not going to work with you. I'm not going to waste my time if you're not going to get out in the field and sell. So you've got to hold these people accountable. If you're not going to hold them accountable, don't even try anything, because it's not going to work. You got to hold people accountable. And again, just because you're paying them 100% commission does not mean that you can't set performance objectives and hold somebody accountable to that. They need that in order to succeed. Now, let's talk about finding good recruits, okay? Here are some ways that, some things about finding good recruits and recruiting your agents. First of all, make a plan to recruit 3 new agents per manager. Now, most of you on this call, I'm assuming you are the only manager, and so that means you're going to try to recruit 3 agents. So if you're going to recruit 3 agents at a time, I don't recommend recruiting 1 agent and then training that agent and then recruiting another agent and training that agent. That's really can be a waste, because the odds are I found that if I recruit 3 agents, usually one of them will work out really well. If I only recruit 1 agent, they have no bar for their performance expectations, and neither do I. And so we just kind of, work through it slowly, and it takes a lot longer to identify problems in performance. If you have 3 sales agents, it's real easy to tell one guy, hey, these other 2 guys were recruited at the same time you were, and last week they were each able to obtain 5 statements. You only obtained 1. There's a disparity here, okay? So that will really help you if you recruit 3 agents with the goal of finding 1 really good one. That's a great way to go. And then once you get down to that 1 and you only have 1 left, but that one's actually on his own and he's selling, then it's time to go out and recruit 3 more agents, all right? And you keep doing that, and 3 agents at a time until you have a team that's the size that you want, okay? Have interviews, at least 2 interviews. Now let's talk about interviews for just a second. And again, I know I'm rushing through this. I wish I had more time, but again, we'll go through this in great detail in the full training. When you do interviews, guys, interviews are designed to do a couple things. First of all, you need to identify what are what are going to be the main things the main skills that this person has to have, okay? You know what they are. I'll give you some more tips in the training, but you need to identify what are the 2 or 3 what a lot of books will call non-negotiable criteria. In other words, what does this person have to have, okay? They have to be trustworthy. People have to be able to trust them, okay? And there's different criteria. They have to be able to sell. They have to be able to make a good first impression. So look at those things and figure out if they have those things. That's what the first interview is for. When they walk in, do they make a good first impression on you? All right. If not, then don't even mess with them. Obviously, they're not going to be the right person. If they're not even making a good first impression on you and they're really trying to impress you, imagine them walking into 15 or 20 businesses a day. It's not going to work very well. So make sure that they make a good first impression. Make sure they're trustworthy. Get references. Call their references. That's what the first interview is for. The second interview I use to judge their sales ability. And I like to role play with them, see how well they can ad lib. I give them some random, I hand them my pen off my desk and say, okay, your goal is to sell me this pen. And I'm going to give you a second to think up a starting presentation. Just think of something that can be corny, that's fine, but just give me a sales pitch. Sell me this pen, why I need it, give me a pitch. And then they'll try to sell me the pen, and they might do terrible, and that's fine. But I'm going to get a general idea of their ability to just ad lib and sell and just see, does that make them really uncomfortable? I don't mind if somebody does a poor job when I put them on the spot, but I do mind if it makes them feel really awkward. If a salesperson that's really a good salesperson enjoys a sales challenge, ask them what sales books have they read, what sales training have they gone to, what sales performance have they had in the past. Now maybe they're entry level, maybe they've never done sales before. Okay, well that's fine. That's okay. You can bring that person on. Maybe they have a great work ethic, but I would certainly check and make sure they have a good, strong work ethic, and also make sure they're not shy and timid. Make sure they're confident. And again, you can check references for that. That's all I'm going to say about the interviews. Let me move on. Have a 30-day probation period based on hard work. Tell them when you come on, I'm going to give you 30 days. And if you work hard during those 30 days and you want to continue selling for me, then you will have the opportunity to do that. All right, that's what I tell them. If you work hard for 30 days, you'll have the opportunity to continue working with me. I can help anybody that will work hard that can make it through the interview process. Again, if in the interview process I've determined that they have some personality, they're easy to get along with, they make a good first impression, and they're willing to work 40, 50 hours a week at the business, I know that I can help that person succeed. I have no doubt. And so I just need them to work hard. And I really emphasize that to them. I say, if you want to work with me, I'm going to invest my time in you. I'm going to help you succeed. But, if you don't work hard, I'm not going to work with you. Okay, so how do we find these amazing salespeople? Here's my best tips for you in your local market. Number 1 is use Craigslist. Craigslist is amazing for finding job applicants. It's really good. You can also use CareerBuilder, Monster.com, but I found that that's less effective and also more expensive. So I like using Craigslist. Another thing I'll tell you that is one of the best things you can do, go to Best Buy or go to used car lots, go to call centers, go to places where people know how to sell, but they don't get paid very much. And also it might be entry-level sales jobs. And then go there and leave little cards, recruiting cards on their windshields. You will be shocked the kind of response that you'll get from that. It's really funny. Normally if there's 20 people working at a call center and they come out and see these things under their windshield, usually like 18 of them are going to be disgusted and so upset that you left this on their car, and they're going to throw it in the trash can. And then the other 2 people are going to call you and say, hey, I'm sick of working at this call center. And that's fine with me. I don't care if the other 18 hate me. I just want the 2 to come on board. So that's a great way to get some prospects there. So there's a couple ideas for you. Again, there's a lot of other things you can do. You can use LinkedIn. There's a lot of different things you can do there, and we'll cover that in more detail in the training, but that's my best tips to get started. And also, if you know people, you might know somebody that's looking for a job. I mean, right now, a lot of people are out of work, and so you might be able to find somebody that's out of work that would want to do this. Next, give them a super realistic goal/income sheet and ask them if that is enough money for them to live on. One of the worst things you could do is hire somebody that has to make $50,000, $60,000 a year starting out. If you hire somebody like that, they will drive you nuts and then they will quit, okay? You don't want that, all right? So make a spreadsheet, and again, I'll provide all this to you in the training, but for right now, you're gonna have to make something up yourself. You know what's realistic. And so what you want to do is you want to make something that is very realistic, weekly. Every single week it goes and shows how much money this person is going to make. Okay. Let's see here. So again, give them a realistic income sheet and then ask them and say, hey, is this something you can realistically live on? Tell them how much they're going to make in the first week, the second week, the third week, etc. And I'm going to get into compensation here in a minute. Training the agents. Pitch the training as their trial period for you. I actually learned this from a local car lot here in the area. When I first moved out to the area where I'm at now, I was looking for a sales job, and a local car lot brought this up, and they were trying to recruit me. They called me up, and I went in there, and what they had was they have a 2-day training. They don't pay you for the training, but if you want to learn more about the opportunity, they would let just about anybody come to that training, and then they would let them decide, okay, do I want to do this or not? So that's a great recruiting tool. It's also a great way to weed out the people that are not right for the position, because as you go through an interactive training, this might be a good way to do that. So if you're trying to hire 3 agents, you might be able to find 6 or 7 that will come to this 2-day training, and 2 of them will leave after the first day. Another one might leave after the second day. But you can schedule a training, a 2-day training, and tell them that's their trial period. If they come to the training and don't like it, they are under no obligation to sell for you. I recommend for this 2-day training, this is one expense that I recommend that you do incur. Rent a conference room at a hotel. Do this off-site for 2 days, or use GoToMeeting.com if these are national agents, somebody around the country that you're helping to train. But I recommend that you rent a hotel conference room. Not very expensive. It's very realistic to do that. And you can go in there and do the training, have a 2-day training. Go through my training and then get all the agents out in the field on day 3 with easy goals. If you're going to get them started, you want to get them started right on day 3. They're done with training on day 2, day 3 out in the field. I recommend doing the training on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then they have 3 days to get out in the field. Let me tell you guys a tip, okay? Sometimes I've even done the training on Friday and Monday, so that I have 4 days for them to get out in the field before the weekend. You're going to lose, most of the agents you lose, you're going to lose on the first weekend, because they got out in the field and it was really tough, and it's like they're waiting for a break. And as soon as they get that break on Saturday and Sunday, they start talking to their spouse or their friends, and boy, I don't know about this. This might not be a good deal for me. I haven't made any sales yet, and they get discouraged. In fact, I really try to make a point of contacting my agents on Saturday and Sunday, their first Saturday and Sunday. I give them a call Saturday morning at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to wake them up early, but I call them and hey Bob, hey man, I wanted to call you. I know you're not working today, and I apologize to bother you on a Saturday, but man, I just want to tell you how excited I am about you joining our team. I know you didn't make a sale yet this week, but it's really tough getting started. But I can tell you're on the right track. I'm really excited about this, and I know you're going to do really well. A call like that on a Saturday, and then I might shoot them an email on Sunday and say, hey, I just want to let you know that prospect you visited on Thursday, I was looking at the notes, and it looks like that's a really good prospect. I think we're going to get them on Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to go with you so we can make sure we get that deal. Okay, so make sure you put some feelers out there on Saturday and Sunday. Keep them going, all right? Next. Introduce yourself. These are the goals. The goals for the agent. So they get out in the field on day 3. Introduce yourself to business owners and go through your trifold brochure, and then ask for a statement. Now, I have the trifold brochure already. If you want that, it's pretty simple, and they can go through that with the merchant. And then also they ask for a statement. So, role play with them. Now, here's the thing, guys. On day 2, at the end of day 2, you're done with all the training. Now, go back in and role play. I mean, like for 2 hours, role play on 2 things: going through the trifold brochure and asking for a statement. That's it. Don't tell them that they need to do anything else. When you go through the first part of the training on day 1 and the first part of day 2, you're going to cover everything. But then you're going to back up at the very end of the training and just cover their first 2 action steps. You need to make sure that you make it very clear that you're not expecting them to make a sale their first couple days, because you're not. To expect that is unrealistic. You're expecting them to introduce themselves to a lot of business owners, to ask them if they could go through the brochure and explain about our business, just make an introduction, go through the brochure, and then ask for a statement. So that's all you want them to do. That's all you're asking them to do. That way they can succeed. And they'll be so excited on day number 2 or 3, they'll go back for a follow-up and somebody will actually give them a statement. I've had a lot of agents that have gotten a statement on their first day in the field. Boy, I mean, they're just super excited about that. And so, you want to give them an achievable goal. I've had agents where the first couple days they didn't get a statement, but they went through the brochure with 15 different business owners in 2 days because they're really hard workers. And I say, boy, good job. That's awesome. I'm excited, because if you're going to work like that, you're really going to succeed in this business. And so, give them something that they can achieve and it will really, really help them to be motivated. Lastly, after you do all the inside training, now it's time to move outside. Here's what you do, okay? All the agents go out in the field on the third day. So let's say you have 3 agents, maybe you have 4, maybe you have 2, whatever it is, depending on how many dropped out during the other training. So let's say you got 3 agents. Here's what you're going to do. You are going to go out in the field with 1 agent at a time for 2 days, okay? Day 1, the agent is going to watch you sell. Day 2, you're going to watch the agent sell, okay? And one of the toughest things I find about this whole process is letting the agent fail on day 2. You're there to observe. You need to let the agent fail, okay? You need to stand there and let the agent look ridiculous. It's going to be embarrassing, but you need to get that over with because they need to get past that so that you can explain to them how to do it better. And don't be embarrassed. Who do you care about here? Do you care about the agent that's going to be working with you for several years? Or do you care about this business owner you've never met before? You've got to learn to not be embarrassed and just stand there and let the agent make a fool of themselves. That's fine, okay? Don't jump in. I mean, even at the end, let the agent do everything because this is what's going to happen, guys. If you don't do that, okay, they will never do it on their own. They will do it on their own if you're standing there because you're making them. And if you do that for a whole day, after like 3 or 4 hours of floundering all over the place and making a fool of themselves, and you keep making them go, keep, next one, give them a couple tips, be very encouraging. And after 3 or 4 hours, they're going to start to get pretty good at it. And they're going to be like, wow, I'm not making a fool of myself anymore. And then when you leave and to go work with another agent, they're going to have the confidence to go out in the field and keep doing that. But if you just keep cutting in, every time you cut in, you are destroying their confidence and they're not going to be ready to go out on their own and they're going to quit, okay? So make sure that day 1, you're with them. They're just watching you. They're not saying anything. And then day 2, you have them do the whole pitch. Don't try to do the thing where you mix and match. Either you're the one selling or they're the one selling, but make it clear what they're supposed to do and tell them on the first day. Say, hey, when you go out today, you can relax. You're just watching me. That's all you're doing. And explain to them and say, look, we probably won't get a sale today. We're not out here to get a sale. We're out here to talk to business owners, meet them, make a good first impression, and ask them for a statement. That's what I'm going to show you how to do today. We might get lucky and make it fun. Maybe you have some follow-up visits you can do and show them how to do that. But make sure they know, hey, even if you don't see me make a sale today, that's fine because I'm really not taking you out today to show you how to make a sale. I'll do that another day. Right now, I'm just taking you out to show you how to meet business owners and how to make a good first impression. Next, okay, what do you have to offer? Okay, number 1, in other words, what I'm trying to say is here, what are you offering them in order to keep them on your lower compensation plan, okay? First of all, ongoing training. If you're not offering this, you will lose your agents, guaranteed, all right? If you are hiring local sub-agents, okay, and you are not training them every day, having a meeting with them every day, training them every week, meetings, out in the field with them, you will lose them. I absolutely 100% guarantee you that you will lose them. Because guys, if you handle that right, you can keep your agents accountable. Here's how you do it. You get a big list. You say, hey, starting out, I have some businesses that I know these are the types of businesses that use our services where we can probably save them some money. I'm going to give you 15 a day starting out, and you go and you give them actually print out a lead sheet that has 15 of these. And again, guys, I know this is a lot of information. I realize that, and I'm sorry, it's like drinking from a fire hose. I'm going to give you all the detailed training with all this information, but I'm just trying to go quickly, so I apologize. But you give them a lead sheet printed out, and all it has is a date column and a notes column, and it has 15 businesses on it that are all in one zip code. You give each one of your agents that list every day and say, hey, your job today is go visit these 15 businesses, put down the date, and put down what happened. That's it. That's all you got to do today, okay? If your biggest problem is going to be that 85% of your sub-agents aren't going to make it 2 weeks, okay? That's going to be your problem. You're not going to be worried about, oh, I've got this agent that's getting 15 sales a month and I'm afraid I'm going to lose him. We can deal with that guy. That's not a problem. You can bring that guy in as a partner within 6 months, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's not a problem. The problem is you're going to bring in sub-agents with no experience, and they're going to suck so bad that they're going to quit. That's your problem, all right? So you need to give them leads and allow them to say, hey, go out in the field and get started. And what you can do is, as you turn agents over, which is just part of the deal, say you have an area that's got, I don't know, maybe it's got 1,000 businesses in a certain area, and that's where you have a sub-agent going. He might work with you for a month, and he might generate interest at 60 or 70 businesses, and then he quits, okay? Well, now when you bring on the next guy, you can say, hey, I got a database. I already have 60 or 70 interested businesses in your market, and I need you to start following up on them because the last guy quit, and he went on to another opportunity. And boy, you can, after you go through 2 or 3 people, all of a sudden, you have a really, really good, solid database of information that you can go through. Let me answer one other question here from James. He says, from my experience, after a few months, those bad sales quit and the good sales will start searching for better pay. I just feel I'm wasting my time recruiting people. Yes. And James, that is exactly what happens, and I'm going to talk to you about that in 1 second. What he says is basically 2 things happen when you recruit sub-agents. The people that are bad quit. The people that are good go somewhere else, and you just created your own competition. All right? But we're going to talk about that in just a second. We'll cover both of those because I agree. And in fact, I'll tell you guys, seriously, the first few teams I recruited, it was just a disaster. So you can learn from my horrible mistakes. But again, right, what I'm talking about right now is very important. And again, a lot of agents that recruit overlook these things, okay? If you're not providing these things, then that is going to happen every single time with no exception, okay? But we'll talk about some other things in a minute. Pay a telemarketer to schedule leads. As soon as you can afford to, and guys, I'm telling you, if you got to go overseas, you can go to freelancer.com, find some call center in the Philippines. I don't care what you have to do. Do it yourself. Call yourself. I mean, from the phone. Whatever you got to do. Find a way to schedule appointments. Make sure that your telemarketer understands what you mean by an appointment. All you need is the business owner's name and the time he's going to be there. That's it, okay? You don't need a solid appointment. Again, you're just trying to get these guys out in the field. Let them get out in the field and let them get started, okay? You can't desert them. You got to let them get out in the field and get started, and then you got to be there to support them and train 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 them. So pay a telemarketer to schedule leads. That's a great way if you can afford it. I'll tell you the third and probably my favorite way to get your sub-agents really going, and this is probably my most controversial tip of the day because I would be shocked if one person on this call actually did this because no one ever does it. They all think I'm nuts, but it actually works. So let me give it to you, and then you can ignore it later, all right? Go out and generate the leads yourself. Let me explain what I mean by this, okay? The biggest mistake that most guys make when they recruit sub-agents is that they assume that the hardest part of all this is closing the deal. And so they always want to be there to help the agent close the deal. And they want the agent to go out and do the grunt work and, generate all this interest. You go into 50 businesses a day and then bring me the gravy and I'll go sell them. All right. That does 2 things. Number 1, it burns out your agents. And number 2, it's not efficient. And so you're not going to get very many sales doing that. Now, certainly after a while, your agent should become pretty good at doing their own prospecting. But let me tell you something. You guys all know, every single person on this call, I think, I'm looking at the names over here, and I think all of you are pretty good salespeople already, okay? If you're a good salesperson, you know what it means to be a good salesperson, all right? The advantage of a good salesperson really isn't necessarily the close. I mean, that's part of it. But really, that's not the biggest thing. The biggest advantage of a good salesperson is the ability to make a good first impression and build trust with the client, and then they give you a statement, all right? That's the benefit. The benefit of me being a good salesperson versus my sub-agents that are not good is that if I walk into 15 or 20 businesses, I'm going to get 5 good prospects. If they walk into 15 or 20 businesses, they might get 1 good prospect. So my time of prospecting is literally 5 times more efficient than that sub-agent. And I don't know about you guys, but what I find is now I can prospect for about 10 agents right now. Seriously. If I'm out full-time prospecting right now, I just don't have time to sell all those people. I mean, I could go get prospects like there's no tomorrow. I have connections all over my market. I mean, I know everybody. I have a huge pipeline of potential prospects from years of work. I mean, I know how to make a good first impression. I can get a statement in 10 minutes and, 5 minutes sometimes I walk in and, man, I know how to do that. So what I'll do is if I bring on a bunch of sub-agents, I'll go out in the field after I do the initial 2-day training. I'll go to their market and I'll say, hey, I'm going to be out there in your market today. You keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to go out there today and I'm going to get you a bunch of prospects. I'm going to use all my connections. And I'll go in there and I'll generate the interest and then I'll get the statement and I'll say, now here's what I'm going to do for you. And I'll even tell them, I'll be real honest with the business owner. I'll say, hey, let me do something. If you can help me out with something, okay? Now I'm going to save you a lot of money. I'm going to take a look at your statement here and I'm going to save you a lot of money. I'm going to get you an analysis. And now I've got a guy, his name is Bob, and he's one of the guys that works for me. He covers this area. Man, I'll tell you, Bob is a great guy and he's a little bit new to this business, but he's really catching on fast. And I think that he really has a passion to serve his clients. If you don't mind, I'm going to send Bob back in here on Friday and he's going to present the analysis to you. Now, I'm going to be here to back him up, of course, and even if Bob were to leave the business, I'm here to support you as well. So you've got 2 levels of support, but I really would like Bob to have the chance to come in and explain the cost analysis to you, show you the savings we can offer, and I'll take care of all the technical stuff, make sure everything's taken care of on your account. But would you mind if Bob came in and made that presentation to you? Guys, I'm telling you, business owners eat that up. They love it. They're like, oh, yeah, send Bob in here. I'll take care of him. I'm telling you, you talk about setting up an easy pitch for a home run. You do that, all of a sudden Bob walks in with a statement. And you know what? The business owner feels sorry for him. It's unbelievable. And the business owner's like, oh, this guy, he's new, he needs some help. And I mean, they're so nice and going through. And I'm telling you, they will close almost as high as you will. Seriously, if you set them up like that. And you guys could go out most of you guys on this call, if you went out for 8 hours in your local market, you would generate 40 or 50 prospects. Seriously. 8 hours, you generate 40 or 50 prospects if you were serious about it and all you were doing was prospecting. And you could do that for one day. You could do that on Monday and you could provide enough follow-up appointments for your sales agents for the rest of the week, and tell them, hey, go back. Here's 2 or 3 I got for you tomorrow. Here's 2 or 3 for the next day. Go back in and get the statement from this guy. This guy's really interested or whatever. And you make little prospect cards for every single one. Hand those prospect cards out and have your guys go out and follow up on those. Okay. Again, that's a great way to provide leads. All right, I'm taking a little too long on that, so sorry, but I just love that idea. It really works, but again, I can never seem to get the guys it's almost like the guys that start recruiting. A lot of times we feel like we've already busted our butt, so now it's time to chill out and have somebody else do that, and that's a mistake. If you want to make money, you're going to have to bust your butt a little longer, okay? All right, administrative support. This is a real key. It's very, very important that you have this administrative support. And I'm going to explain why in just a second, but let me explain what I mean. Key in their sales for them and have their installations done for them. Okay, this is the most important thing that you can have, you can provide for them. I would even go so far as to say work 60 or 70 hours a week for a little while until you can afford to pay somebody to do this, or bring somebody in part-time as a contractor, but have this done for them. Okay, key in their sales for them and have their installations done for them. Let me explain what that will do. It's going to, and it's hard to explain this, but okay, understand who we're talking about. We're talking about brand new agents that don't know this business at all, okay? They're coming in and selling. Now, you are providing them with leads every single day. Again, maybe they're just business listings, but again, it's listings. You're saying, here's who you need to go visit today. They come back and hand you their prospect list. You key that into your database. Then they get a sale. They get the sale, and then you go out and do the installation, or one of your guys goes out and does the installation. This agent is going to be very dependent upon you and your business structure. Your business structure is what is allowing them to succeed in the business. If you do that, they are going to be very scared and nervous to leave you and go out on their own, all right? But if you bring them in and they key in their own sales, they do their own installations, they do the database themselves, they see all the reports, everything is just opened up to them right away, you're going to lose them really quickly because they're going to say, well, good night, I could do this on my own. What do I need you for? And so if you can do some administrative support, that's also going to help when they come back and say, hey, are there other companies where I can make more money? And you can say, absolutely, there are other companies where they pay out more, but you wouldn't make more money because you'd have to pay somebody to key your sales in, pay somebody to do your installations, pay somebody for these leads I'm providing you with, pay somebody for the training and split commissions with somebody else to train you. So all these extra services I'm providing you are very valuable, okay? Trust me, guys, I've had this conversation dozens of times. It does work, okay, if you can get this going with them, all right? All right, thanks everybody so much for being on the call. I'm going to open it up one more time for questions. Anybody got any other questions? Last chance. All right, thanks everybody very much for being on the webinar today. Everybody have a great evening.